this short film, you're about to see how a ruptured brain aneurysm affected myself. In this short film, you're about to In this film, I aim to show you how a ruptured brain aneurysm affected me and what I remember from the actual events of that day to how I cope today, over 7 months on after the rupture. The day was January the 8th, 2014. And my day started as normal. Went up to the horses to help my mum, and then came into uni for my morning lectures. We broke for lunch quite late that day. I remember I was outside talking. Sorry. In this film, I aim to show you how a ruptured brain aneurysm affected me, what I remember from that day, to how I am now, nearly 7 months on. January the 8th, 2014 started like a normal day for me. Went up to help my mum muck out the horses, put them out in the field. And then I went off to uni. I had my morning lectures. We broke late for lunch that day, and we decided to go straight out for a cigarette before we had lunch. So I quickly grabbed a coffee and took that out to the smoking area. I remember we was having a conversation about giving up smoking, and we were laughing and joking about when we would give up. I started to feel a bit dizzy. I recall Matt saying, "Julia, is this one of your turns? I have dizzy spells," unrelated to the aneurysm. And next thing I know, I had this burning sensation in my head, and it just felt like somebody was just stabbing knives into my head. It was just continuous stabbing. And next thing I recall was my left side went into some kind of seizure. My arm, I kept saying, "Look at my arm," and it was just trembling, just non-stop. I could hear myself slurring my words, and I just remember trying to lift my mouth up, because I thought that would stop me slurring. And then I lost my vision. The pain was still there, the pain was horrendous. The headache, and I couldn't stand the light. The light hurt my eyes a lot. So I next recall Matt saying to Claire to dial 999, and that he was off to get help. I can't remember him leaving me, but he must have done, because then I heard other people around me, but I didn't know who was there. I just had no vision at all. Then I heard a man introduce himself, and I briefly looked up and I saw an ambulance car, and a called man with black hair. He did introduce himself, but I can't remember what his name was, who he was. Kept asking lots of questions, like who was the Prime Minister, what day was it, what was my name. He just kept repeating that, he just kept asking me all the time. And then next thing, I heard him say, "Julia, I need to take you to hospital. Just listen for the sirens." And you hear the sirens, and it just kept repeating that over and over again. I couldn't hear anything at first. And then I heard the sirens. They're a long way off, but I heard them. They said, "This is it, this ambulance is for you, Julia." I don't remember getting in the ambulance. I don't remember the ambulance turning up. But I next recall I was in hospital, and it felt like I was in this huge bubble. It was just, everyone was around me talking, but I could hardly hear them. And I looked up and I saw my mum. She was crying. She was crying so much. All saying to her, I just looked up and said, "Stop crying, Mum, I'm going to be okay. It's all going to be okay," which made her cry even more. I remember them saying to me that I had to change hospitals. I had to have an operation on my brain. My mum said that she would take care of the girls, my daughters. I have twin daughters, aged 13, and she sort of said to me, what do I tell them? What do I tell them? So I said, just tell them Mummy's got a bad headache and that I've had to go to hospital. My mum knows I don't ever lie to my children, but I didn't know what was happening, but I knew my head hurt. So until I knew what was happening, that's all I could tell them. I knew my mum would tell them the truth as soon as she knew. As soon as she knew I was safe, she would tell them the truth. Because that's how I live with my children, honestly. I remember the ambulance crew arriving to take me to Bristol. And I just looked at this man, and I giggled to my mum, and I said, "Mum, I'll be okay. I know him. I used to serve in the Navy with him. He was an aircraft mechanic, the same as me. And here he was, being the guy who sat in the back of the ambulance with me on the way to Frenchay. But I felt safe knowing that I was with him." But it helped knowing him, I think. I don't remember the journey up to Frenchy. In fact, I don't remember the next 3 weeks. A long time to forget. Still don't remember. I think the first recall of Frenchy I had, I was in the low dependency ward, and that was right at the end of January. And I remember the children coming in. They got told off for laying on my bed, giving me a hug. I didn't make them get off. I remember the first time that they tried to get me out of bed. I collapsed on the floor. I was in so much pain. I had a lot of blood, apparently, and fluid pressing down on my spinal cord, which is why my legs reacted the way they did, and why I was in so much pain.